In 1943, the German submarine U-977 vanished without explanation, dismissed as lost to war until a 2024 Norwegian satellite scan revealed its wreck, buried 200 feet under Arctic ice. Surrounding it were fresh, non-human tracks. Inside, a sealed crate radiating heat in sub-zero cold, marked with symbols matching those beneath Greenland's oldest glaciers. Declassified files hint at a secret Nazi mission, and every winter wolves return, circling the site. Why was this U-boat sent north with no known objective, and what exactly did it carry? Let's dive into it. In the early spring of 1943, deep in the chaos of the Second World War, the German submarine known as U-977 received sealed orders. Its destination was classified, but its mission was shrouded in silence. Even among the crew, only fragments of the full story were known. What they did understand without question was this: failure was not an option. At that point in the war, German U-boats were some of the most feared threats patrolling the Atlantic. According to updated records from the Imperial War Museum, between the years 1939 and 1945, German submarines were responsible for sinking more than 2,700 Allied ships. Yet U-977 stood apart from the rest. This particular submarine never returned. No distress signal, no final transmission. It simply vanished. The German Naval Command eventually listed it as missing, presumed lost. But behind closed doors, panic set in. Quiet investigations began. Some believed the sub had been crushed beneath drifting Arctic ice. Others thought it had struck an Allied minefield, or worse, that sabotage was involved. However, a few whispered something stranger. Among surviving members of the Kriegsmarine, rumors circulated. U-977, they claimed, wasn't sent on a patrol at all, but on a classified recovery mission. Its target was not military intelligence, not supplies, but something ancient. Over time, the submarine became more legend than fact, a ghost story wrapped in ice. Dismissed by most historians as little more than a wartime footnote, yet for conspiracy theorists and military mystery hunters, it remained a source of fascination. For decades, that's where the story ended, until 2018. That year, a Norwegian military satellite scanning Arctic regions for environmental data registered something out of the ordinary. Beneath nearly 200 feet of compacted ice lay an elongated metallic shape. It was out of place, and it wasn't natural. More importantly, it matched, inch for inch, the dimensions of the missing U-977, and just like that, a 75-year-old mystery began to thaw. But just when experts thought the mystery had been frozen in place, a second discovery, nearly a decade later, would unravel everything they thought they knew. During a standard Arctic satellite sweep in early 2024, part of a climate monitoring operation led by the Norwegian Defense Research Establishment, something unexpected appeared beneath the ice. The mission's primary goal wasn't to locate shipwrecks. It was focused on tracking long-term shifts in ice density due to accelerating polar melt. But then, the sensors picked up a signature that didn't belong. Beneath nearly 200 feet of solid Arctic ice, the data revealed a long metallic structure, textured, symmetrical, and unmistakably artificial. In one of the most remote, untouched corners of the planet, something man-made was lying dormant. At first, analysts suspected Cold War leftovers. The Arctic was a strategic chessboard throughout the 20th century, hosting countless secret operations from both NATO and the former Soviet Union. And according to a declassified Norwegian Polar Institute report from 2024, this region has yielded its share of abandoned sensor arrays, experimental weather stations, and even downed reconnaissance aircraft. As the resolution improved, so did the clarity. A narrow hull, a conning tower, the classic profile of a mid-century submarine, and not just any vessel, the dimensions were an exact match for the long-lost German U-boat, U-977. The coordinates lined up as well. The sub was located nearly dead-on along a route laid out in a now declassified wartime operation codenamed Sonderauftrag, German for special assignment. The file had been buried for decades. And here's where things get stranger. The wreck is fully intact, completely sealed beneath centuries-old ice, preserved in a way that defies typical wartime decay. No visible damage, no signs of collapse. It's as though time never touched it. But the real shock came from a secondary scan. Just a few feet from the submarine, satellite thermal sensors picked up something else in motion. But before anyone could investigate on the ground, one unsettling detail in the scan forced authorities to call in a specialist, because what surrounded the wreck wasn't just strange, it suggested something was already there. The satellite scan had confirmed it. German submarine U-977, perfectly preserved beneath Arctic ice. That's when the call went out to Dr. William Carter. Carter isn't easily rattled. With more than 3 decades of experience in underwater archaeology, his credentials stretch across continents. He mapped Viking longships in Greenland, recovered sunken Cold War submarines off the North Atlantic Trench, and led NATO-backed recovery missions in the Mediterranean. His fieldwork was even cited in the NATO Maritime Archaeological Report published in 2023, an acknowledgement reserved for only the most trusted in high-risk marine recovery. But when Carter reviewed the satellite data, he didn't say a word. Initially, he thought the data was corrupted. Ice distortion can scramble satellite scans, especially in polar regions. Then he saw the tracks. Subtle but undeniable impressions in the snow, forming a wide, methodical loop around the wreck. "That's not from wind," Carter said. "Something's pacing, and it's not human." According to the latest Arctic field report from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, no research teams have entered that grid sector in over 2 decades. No ice stations, no military patrols, no recent human activity at all. And yet, those tracks were fresh. That's when the United States Navy elevated the operation. This was no longer just an archaeological recovery. It had become a strategic mission with unpredictable elements. "Whatever's out there," Carter told the Joint Task Force, "has been waiting, and now it knows we're coming." Within hours, a plane was scrambled. A specialized recovery team was mobilized, and Carter packed his cold-weather gear, fully aware that this mission wasn't routine. It was a step into the unknown. But even before the team reached the wreck, the Arctic began to push back, with signs that something was already watching from the ice. Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel, and if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? Within 72 hours of receiving the satellite scans, Dr. William Carter was on the ground in northern Greenland. The United States Navy provided limited airlift and survival logistics, while the National Science Foundation expedited emergency clearance for a joint Arctic deployment. The team was small, but each member was hand-selected. Among them, glaciologists, military historians, cold weather survival experts, and one specialist Carter insisted on bringing, Dr. Helena Brooks. An Arctic biologist with a focus on predator migration, she had tracked rare wolf populations across Siberia and cataloged apex predator behavior across polar ecosystems. Their destination lay hundreds of kilometers from the nearest operational base. According to the most recent Arctic survey released by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, this specific region was designated biologically inactive. No migratory routes, no known denning zones, no recorded movement in over 20 years. Yet, as the convoy of snow vehicles rumbled deeper into the white expanse, those classifications began to lose meaning. For 4 days, the team advanced across shifting ice fields. Winds tore across the plains, slamming the vehicles with force. Visibility fell to near zero. Temperatures plummeted to 50 degrees below 0 Celsius. Even inside their reinforced transport modules, the cold wasn't just present, it was invasive. At roughly 2 o'clock in the morning, Carter sat alone in his tent, reviewing layered satellite overlays. Then, he heard a single low howl. He stepped outside just as Dr. Helena Brooks returned from a perimeter sweep. Her expression was tight. "Something's watching us," she said. "It's wolves, but not like any I've studied." She pointed beyond a jagged ridgeline, and there, partially obscured by blowing snow, stood 5 figures, their eyes reflecting pale green against the dark. By the 4th day, the team had entered the target zone marked by satellite, ground zero. The wind had finally eased, but the silence grew heavier with every passing hour. As the convoy crested a low, snow-packed ridge, Dr. Carter signaled a full stop. He stepped out into the frozen stillness, eyes scanning the icy horizon. Breaking through the surface of the frost, partially buried under a thin sheet of translucent ice, was a curved metallic structure. It's U-977, a frozen vessel, sealed in time. The submarine's conning tower pushed slightly above the ice, its rusted shell bleeding faint brown stains into the surrounding snow. The exposed hull curved like the spine of something long dead, ancient, forgotten, and cold. But surrounding it were the tracks, massive paw prints, sharp-edged, fresh, and perfectly arced in wide circles around the wreck, just like in the satellite imagery. According to the World Wildlife Fund's Arctic Program report, gray wolves are almost never documented this far north during winter. The high ice shelf offers no prey, no shelter, and no reason to linger. But these prints weren't remnants of an old migration. These were recent. Dr. Helena Brooks crouched beside one of them, laying her gloved hand in the snow for scale. "This isn't normal," she said. "They've been here, watching," and then, as if summoned by that silence, they appeared. 6, maybe 7, wolves stood motionless along a distant ridge. Their fur was thick and pale, almost vanishing against the snow. Their yellow eyes flickered in the dim Arctic light. At that moment, the wreck no longer felt like abandoned machinery. It felt like a tomb, and whatever lay sealed inside was never meant to be unearthed. But just as the team began to question what was watching them, the ice revealed what those eyes had been guarding all along. As Carter's team neared the hull, the hatch to U-977 was locked tight. It took hydraulic equipment and more than 1 hour of careful, non-invasive work to loosen it without compromising the structure. Inside, the submarine's corridors were narrow and eerily well preserved. Pipes stretched across the walls. Frost-covered control panels gleamed faintly under the flashlight beams. Then came the moment no one was prepared for. The crew, frozen in place. Men in full Kriegsmarine uniforms sat silently at their stations, eyes closed, helmets still secured, their hands resting calmly on controls and instruments. There were no signs of panic, no evidence of violence, and no indication that anyone had tried to escape. Behind the frozen crew, inside the captain's quarters, Carter found it, a journal. Sealed in cracked leather, its edges stiff with frost. Inside, the handwriting was faint, but still readable. It was the logbook of Captain Heinrich Kaufmann, commander of U-977. The early pages were routine: departure dates, equipment checks, weather logs, crew status reports. Entry dated October 12, 1943. "We've received new coordinates, high Arctic, no explanation." The officers follow orders without question, but the crew is uneasy. Rumors have started. Something buried beneath the ice. Something older than us. The following entries described equipment failures. Intermittent radio signals, navigation systems failing without cause, compasses spinning wildly. Carter compared these details with 2025 geomagnetic survey data released by the European Space Agency. The findings confirmed unusual magnetic interference in that same polar region, powerful enough to compromise basic instruments. Entry dated October 24, 1943. Loud cracks echoed beneath the hull. We surfaced to inspect. That's when we saw it. A figure. At first we assumed it was a polar bear, but it never moved. Then came the first disappearance. Schmidt exited the vessel during the night, said he heard something outside. We found his tracks in the snow. They ended beside a much larger footprint. He was gone. October 31st, 1943. The crew is quiet. They won't speak about the sounds we hear at night. I've ordered the hatch sealed. No one enters and no one leaves. At the bottom of the page, one final line was scribbled across the margin. We are no longer alone. Carter turned to the very last page. It held only a single sentence. No date, no name. They are already here. Dr. Helena Brooks, an Arctic predator specialist with years of field experience, had never seen anything like this. Not in research, not in satellite data, and not in any field work across the polar regions. She scanned the ground near the wreck and deployed a portable ground-penetrating radar unit, standard gear for studying compacted ice layers. As the scans came in, the results were wolf tracks perfectly layered in the ice. Looping patterns, circular paths, tracks that had been imprinted again and again over decades, each winter, each thaw, each freeze. The team consulted the Global Environmental Ice Sheet Survey, known as GEIS. According to their findings, Central Arctic ice can retain surface-level marks, footprints, structural cracks, and snow compressions for over 70 years with near-perfect accuracy. These wolves had been walking the same path, around the submarine in the same formation. But while Carter uncovered the captain's final warnings, Helena was uncovering something just as unsettling. Evidence that the submarine had been under watch for over 70 years. At first light, Carter and the team returned to the wreck. Their next target, the rear cargo hold. Given the secrecy surrounding the mission, they had no expectations, only questions. The hatch was sealed tight, reinforced with heavy bolts far thicker than anything used on standard German submarines during the Second World War. It took nearly 2 hours to break through. Most of the crates were predictable: military rations, basic equipment, and fuel containers frozen solid. But at the far end, one object stood out. A large rectangular container. No stenciling, no serial numbers, no German markings. Its surface was carved with deep-set symbols, repeating, angular and unfamiliar. Not Latin, not Cyrillic, not Norse, not anything in recorded linguistic databases. Dr. Helena Brooks approached, clearing a layer of frost with one gloved hand. Then she stopped. "It's warm," she said quietly. In ambient temperatures below 40 degrees Celsius, any exposed material should freeze within minutes. A report from the International Cryoscience Institute confirmed that even military-grade alloys lose all thermal signature under such conditions. But this crate was different. It gave off a consistent, low-level heat, not enough to melt the ice, but enough to suggest internal energy. The composition showed non-ferrous metals not found in any known World War II military equipment. No warhead, no battery, no structural alloy came close. What do you think they found inside that crate? Something ancient? Something dangerous? Let us know in the comments. Carter and Helena exchanged a glance, not one of fear, but of something deeper, recognition without understanding. This wasn't residual heat from machinery or batteries. It was rhythmic, controlled, as if something inside was still functioning. Helena activated a portable surface scanner and began sweeping across the carved metal. The device buzzed, then paused, processing longer than usual. Finally, it displayed a result that made her stop cold. "These markings," she said quietly, "they match the structures found under Mount Thule." In 2024, a Canadian and Danish research team uncovered remnants of ancient stone architecture beneath the northeast Greenland ice sheet. Their findings, published in the Arctic Heritage Preservation Bulletin, included carvings that predated all known civilizations. Radiocarbon dating placed the site at more than 10,000 years old, older than Mesopotamia, older than Egypt, and far beyond the timeline of recorded human history. Now, the same symbols appeared on a crate hidden in a World War II-era Nazi submarine. But as the symbols revealed a connection to something far older than civilization itself, the team was faced with a decision no protocol had prepared them for. What do you do with something that was never meant to be found? They weren't supposed to find it, and they definitely weren't supposed to take it. Under the 2025 guidelines set by the United Nations Arctic Conservation Protocol, any discovered object with the potential to threaten global security or ecological stability must remain undisturbed, unless its extraction is deemed necessary. Carter gave the order: seal it. For the next 48 hours, the team worked without speaking. The cargo hold was secured. Ice-cutting equipment was reversed. The vessel was lowered once again into the frozen shelf, its resting place reinforced with high-density insulation, cryogenic thermal barriers, and layers of natural snowfall. Over 20 feet of Arctic ice sealed the wreck once more. Above it, they placed a marker, one black stone slab. Unmarked by military insignia, no mission name, just a simple inscription etched into the surface. In memory of those lost aboard U-977, 1943. And in honor of the unseen guardians, the wolves of the North. Helena traced the letters with her gloved fingertips, her breath rising in the cold. "Do you think they'll return?" she asked. Carter didn't answer right away. His eyes followed the ridge where the wolves had once stood. "Let the ice take it back." Carter and his team secured the last of their gear onto the snow vehicles. No words were needed. There was a shared awareness among them that what they had uncovered wasn't just a piece of history, it was a warning. As the convoy began its slow trek back across the ice, Carter paused and turned toward the ridge one final time. The wolves had returned. Their steps were deliberate, familiar. They followed the same pattern carved into the snow for more than 80 years, not hunting, not fleeing, still watching. One wolf stopped at the edge of the ridge, taller than the rest. It faced the open ice, motionless. Then, slowly, it turned its head. The snowfall thickened, covering their tracks, erasing the path behind them. Some things, it seemed, were meant to remain buried, but the watchers never leave. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I'm sure you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.